Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, the issue of spiritual attack has come up yet again, and it seems to be a very common problem and a very serious problem. You know, we've dealt with in several different videos these electronic psychotronic attacks on people where it appears people are being targeted by some sort of energies that totally disrupt them. They hear voices, they hear sounds. This now has reached the common media and has been reported by several Pentagon officials, including CIA agents. Normally, these people were just laughed at as crazy loontunes, psychotics, schizophrenics, etc. The human mind has not been explored hardly at all. There's been several projects recently to map the human brain. As a matter of fact, €1 billion was spent on this, and the person doing the actual mapping who got all this money failed. There is apparently some new other people doing this as well, mapping the human brain. Isn't that interesting? But we have money to go to Mars and, of course, to build all those military machines to murder each other, but we don't have this. And do we really need another military machine? Well, not really. The military lives in the 1940s and is happy to build an armed camp of cowardice, as they are known for. So, when we look at these things, we have totally ignored human consciousness, the mind, the brain, etc. And, you know, I've talked about this before. You know, there are different aspects. There's basically the meat muscle, which is the brain. There is the mind, which generally runs all of the common things you do in life, driving your car, going to work. And then there's consciousness that does everything of importance for you, including developing spiritual and extreme abilities to go on to the next level of human existence. We continue to run into walls, and of course doing research is very expensive, very time consuming, something I've tried to do now for over 43 years as IGOS goes into its 43rd year coming up. And it's very difficult. And you have to reach certain levels. And how you do research? Well, that's just another complicated subject matter, but the research that is being done now is being done with old world thinking that is going to get us virtually nowhere. We have to throw away all the old paragraphs and start doing things from an informational, energetic viewpoint if we expect to get anywhere. We're stuck in 1800s. Technology, scientific opinions, physics has not changed since breakthroughs in the 1860s. Einstein wrote his stuff from information that was from the 1800s, meaning 1860, etc. No, whatever, that's 1900, whatever, all that nonsense that they tell us stupid things to do. The 1900s is really the 1800s, and up is really down, and math is just a contrivance of the boobs that follow it. So the whole idea is that when we understand what's going on here, it's relatively frightening. The last few months, I've been contacted by young people who are being terrorized by evil thoughts. Thoughts that are compulsive to them. Now, the major compulsion in your life, above everything else, and I mean everything else, including eating, survival, everything else, is your sexual urge, particularly in males. Males risk their lives, and many people are dead today because of sex. Their momentary joy they get from orgasm came with a little bit of AIDS or other toxins that eventually killed them. Well, you don't think about that. All you think about is that momentary, and it really is momentary orgasms. Regardless if you're a Tantra practitioner and can have an orgasm for 45 days, it still is a small period of time. Understanding all this is critically important to the human mind and condition. Of course, we have the other side, the females, who basically have little or no sexual responses or interests whatsoever as a general rule. So the whole idea is that we have a very conflicting society because of this. But people constantly will go hungry, lose money, risk their lives just for sexuality. Why is that? It's a horrible compulsion. Well, the reason I bring that up is people are having the same compulsions to do very antisocial behavior that will get them killed, thrown in prison, etc. And it seems to plague a lot of people, but young people in general, telling them to go out and hurt people, steal, rob, rape, etc. for no real reason. They don't really need to do this, and they don't seem to be affected by some trauma by living in a ghetto and being victimized all the time and wanting to then victimize the world. We're talking about people that don't have a reason to do this, just like the people that are being psychotronically attacked are not the cause of their problems. Now, there is this whole discussion, which I'll do in another video relatively soon, about the evil energies, the Windigos, and the Wetiko. Now, there's books been talked about this, and these are terms that come from Indians in the northern part of Eastern America into Canada, who had a serious problem with a spirit that possessed people that turned them into cannibal vampires. And this has been recorded and verified. Very, very interesting that this kind of energy is there. But I will get into that in another book, but another video here. And it's quite fascinating because I've never could understand the reason why people are evil in general. Because everybody, no matter what culture you come from, knows what's good. There isn't any culture that's come out and said, it's wonderful that we're doing this, murdering a bunch of people because we don't like them and they're scum. They don't do this. Governments hide this. The Nazis certainly didn't do that and come out and say how wonderful work they were doing. They hid everything. And the hypocritical populace claimed in Germany they knew nothing about it, even though everybody knew about it. And the camps were run by the police departments of the country. It was not run just by the SS. The SS was the National Police Department, and everybody knew about it. Yet we do this all the time. We categorize things. Gypsies who are known to be thieves and robbers don't thieve and rob each other. They do everybody else. So everybody knows this and it's built into you. So having antisocial behavior, you don't need religion or anything else, by the way. This is another thing, and this is going to be a relatively long talk when I go into that and all the aspects of evil and everything else, because it really has to be discussed. What is going on with human consciousness? Why are people so easily affected by it and refuse to stand up to it? And there's a lot of reasons for it. But these things that happen to people, I believe, are not an inner force. Now, this is the problem with all the old world stupid thinkers that got all their information from Freud and all the other maniacs that have plagued this society with their evil belief systems and their cultural backgrounds that are basically Islamic and toxic, who then brought this into Europe. And people need to understand that. And it's amazing how they have tricked you even there. Do your research and you'll find out. But again, that's for another topic. But the whole idea is that these things don't tend to be something that is coming from the inside and compelling you. They're coming from the outside. And you're impelled, I guess, if that's the two correct terminologies, to do things, because energies enter you and are now telling you. Now, this is classic schizophrenia, where we talk about the fact that voices in our heads tell us to do things. Well, where does this come from, and what is schizophrenia? Well, it has been proven that large doses of oxygenation in the book Oxygen Therapies, which the author escapes me right now, stated that high doses of oxygen were given to severely mentally ill people, and they were cured. Whoa. Viruses, parasites, funguses. Here we go again. The three baddies. But are these baddies working on their own as the genius species they are? Viruses are geniuses. The human mind could never get to the level of functioning that a virus, a parasite, or even a fungus can do. They are unstoppable and will adapt to every situation. They are genius. They don't have a vertebrae, so they're stupid. Just like they say animals are stupid when they're highly intelligent. What would an animal do with a book or a car? So they're stupid because you're judging them from idiotic human values. So we need to understand this as a way of people operating, and people are being plagued by this, and it's not a joke. It appears that a lot of people who end up in prison or mental institutions or other places are not in any way involved in this process themselves. This is something that enters them. There also seems to be, and I've been testing people now that have problems, they all are highly infected with parasites. When they take antiparasiticals, everybody finds some pretty great relief. Now, isn't this shocking? Now, taking parasiticals by mouth and everything else only handles a certain percentage of them, and particularly the ones that are living in the stomach and intestinal tract. Those who are infecting the mind are very difficult to get to. Even there are some antibiotics that can handle toxemia, which is these worms that get into your head. But I think that's only the ones we've found. Apparently this comes from cat poo, and of course cats are the #1 pets now, and certainly their poo is everywhere. While you may not handle it directly, well, how much gets into the air? How much is thrown around? So the whole idea is I believe that most people probably have some level of toxemia, which are these worms in your brain. Now, how do you take care of them? Well, everything on this planet is taken care of through subtle informational energy fields, otherwise known as radionic type technology. But advanced radionics isn't really what you see. It's quite past that, and you don't really have the understanding of the common junk that's out there now. But advanced radionics is quite different. And of course, we're developing technologies to handle this. And this is one thing we are going to look into very carefully. So people are terrorized, normal people. They are not mentally ill. They are being controlled by outside evil that manifests often as viruses, parasites, and funguses. As I said, the most genius entities in the universe. And we must look at it that way instead of thinking in our idiocy that somehow human beings are superior when we have cured no problems. After all, has dandruff been cured? What about acne? And I can just go on and on with the most simplest medical situations that there's absolutely no cure for. And it goes on and on. We have done nothing, and we continue to do nothing, because now we have a loggerhead, a jam of philosophies that we are living on that come from these 1860s through the 1920s, which is absurd to think that anything that came prior to the last 20 years has much value past a basic measuring stone or measuring tape type reality. Yeah, it's interesting, it's a basis, but it is not how the universe works. And of course, these breakthroughs in this particular time, they had to reject all the other stupidity that's come there. But most of your scientific understandings go back hundreds, if not thousands of years, to Galileo, the Greeks, Newton, 500 years ago. Well, this is what we're living in. So this has to change, and certainly it was a good stepping stone, but it is not getting us even close to the top of that mountain that we use that stepping stone for. So understanding all this is very critical to the bigger picture process. But let's get back into the little picture. So people are being invaded by these entities. We've pretty much found that almost everybody under psychotronic attack has, but I'm not sure what came first, the psychotronic attack or the viruses, but certainly is a very efficient way to control people and dominate them, not by necessarily sending frequencies or monitoring them, even if you do it en masse, but to have something grow within you, to have things that are controlling you from the inside out and that work in an intelligent manner. So it just makes a lot of sense that this is what you can do. And you can program parasites to go into different aspects of a person's brain to control them. And they fight to survive. It's very interesting. I read recently that the virus of rabies makes the person who has rabies super sexual, close to death. They're trying to pass on their disease. Well, isn't that genius? So it's going into your sexual reality, and this has happened even to the very unsexual female population, to affect them. Well, wasn't this interesting? And if we've learned how to trigger these areas in your brain, we could do an awful lot to further society. And of course, research is happening to some degree in these areas using different hallucinogens. But the bottom line is that it's still a completely unknown area. But schizophrenia certainly isn't unknown. People hearing voices isn't known. And a lot of people, particularly young people, apparently have these thoughts of destroying, raping, robbing, murdering, family, friends, etc. And this is just totally and completely against the laws of nature. I mean, people would say that your biggest drive in life would be the drive to survive. And that way you wouldn't put yourself in danger. Well, certainly humans don't do any of that. Everything that Homo sapiens do is about killing yourself. Pollute your ocean, pollute this, hurt things that you need to live off of. Well, who needs water? Let's just throw trash in it and poisons. Well, does this make any sense? So if we are going to believe that there's some sort of survival of the fittest, that there's some bigger picture of Darwinism, that the species evolves, is actually idiotic if you study the creatures that are supposed to be involved in this. So we are far from the strongest survive and that we do things out of survival. We do. We do things out of convenience and instantaneous gratification regardless. So it really goes against what would really be a way of functioning in Darwin. I don't believe in Darwinism. Certainly there is something to it on a base level, but all the archaeological finds have disproven Darwin, not proven them. So certainly it's an interesting theory, an assumption, a maybe, something to think about, but human beings go back 5 million years. They're a species unto themselves and have always been here, and that is a proof from archaeological finds. Of course, you haven't been told that. You've been told nonsense. So what does this all mean? So this is a serious problem that is plaguing people. And as I said, this antisocial behavior from people that have no reason to act out, meaning they're not in some sort of deprived situation. They are not been victimized more than all of us have been victimized living on this planet. These are people that are acting for no apparent reason and have thoughts that are completely and totally antisocial. To the point of total, complete, narcissistic, self-centered destruction. So how do we deal with all that? Well, it's very difficult to deal with that. And we're going to go through several things you can do if you believe you're under spiritual attack, and I'll give you them right now. Well, the first line of defense is always salt rise. Salts have always chased out negative energies and entities, etc. One of the best ways is to take a salt bath. Now, this doesn't have to be elaborate. I've gotten to function in doing things that for short periods of time often seem to work best for me and I think everyone. So sit down, take a bath hour. But if you take a bath for 10 minutes with a half a cup of Himalayan salt, don't use sea salts. The sea is filthy. God knows what's in sea salt. And certainly table salt is full of all sorts of garbage from what I understand. So you want to use Himalayan type salts that are pure. You put a half a cup in a tub of hot water. You sit there for 10 to 15 minutes. You get up and you pat yourself off. So it's not made for washing. You should wash yourself first, then sit in the tub. That's what I do. And you're using it as a cleansing. Now, baths seem to work very well for people. The other thing is to burn this salt. Now, you can't burn salt, but you certainly can release the energy from it. And that means you get a metal dish. Usually, you would consider this like a pot you used on the stove, which can take a lot of heat and has a handle on it that keeps your hands away from the very hot. And you generally use a little wood cutting board. And now you pour some salt into a pan like that. Or one of the best things is one of these little coffee containers. I'm trying to think what the name of that would. Like it's like a little tiny pitcher with a handle on it, and you put salt in there, and then you cover the salt with alcohol and light it. Now be careful here. You are going to have fire there, and you don't want to burn yourself, and you don't want to pour a whole bunch in there. All you got to do is get enough salt, enough alcohol, and use rubbing alcohol generally, that you can light. And that way it will release the energies of that, and this will chase out any negative spirits. So right now we're dealing with the spiritual aspects of this. These are entities that are around you all the time. The other thing is to put open jars of salt, again, Himalayan salt, in your house. Put one in your bedroom, put one in other places you go, and change this monthly. Just dump the salt in the trash and then refill that container again. Now, these are free, low cost, and that's 3 ways of using salts to cleanse, and negative spirits don't like salt. So, very easy, very cheap. Now, these are low level, though. If you want to bring up your levels of baths and so forth, we offer bath salts, which have very potent alchemical energies in them. Everything from demon to be gone, banishing, uncrossing, and everybody needs to stay uncrossed, and this is an important aspect. We have the trinity of protection metals, which is uncrossing, chakra opening, and curse stopping and removal. Everybody should have these tools and use them. You have to keep these energies away from you. These are blockages that stop you from manifesting, and it's critical that you use tools to stop them. Now, you can use the bath salts, as I said, and we have a whole listing of them. You take a tablespoon of bath salts, and you use that in a tub again for 10 minutes after cleaning yourself. Now, if you don't have a tub, you can put something in a half a gallon of water and pour it over you in the shower as well. I would suggest you use warm water so you don't freeze yourself. That's a way if you don't have a tub or if you want to do something quickly, well, you pour it over yourself. You don't necessarily have to get it in your hair, but you should pour it on your face, your back, etc. And this takes probably about a minute or 2. And that's a way without using baths. Baths are better because you immerse your whole body if you can do it, but a lot of people don't have baths or they're impractical to use. The amulets, as I mentioned, is your next. These energy cells are very potent, and everybody needs an uncrossing energy cell because we're constantly under attack from a very negative society. And the last 2 years have brought energies down to rock bottom. All the energies of this planet are way down. Everybody's in a depressive, low energy mood, which is very difficult to get out of and makes everything worse. There's all sorts of things you can do. We recommend people get some basic radionic tools as well. These are all part of your life, and all of the tools I've mentioned here you're going to use for the rest of your life, plain and simple. So they're well worth the small investment to take care of this. If you are healthy and thinking properly and everything else, you will make 1,000 times what the small tool investment requires from you. But this is extremely important to do and to have these tools. It's also important to get control of your mind. So you start to learn how to concentrate, which is very difficult and takes months or even years to hold the thought for more than 5 or 6 seconds. Probably could take you a year. But you have to start and you have to do it often. You generally see a white light bubble around you. You follow that white light bubble with another layer of a red bubble, and then you see a blue bubble on that. And you just do this often, anytime you have negative thoughts or problems. Another thing, when you're thinking negative thoughts, you should project those onto a blackboard and then erase them. And if you have to do this over and over again all day, well, that's what it takes. Do it enough and you're controlling your thoughts. The other thing, as with most things in life, there is a great benefit to exercise to stop these energies. Getting blood flow through in your body, kicking out toxins is another way to stay well and stop these kind of spiritual attacks. So these are all very critical, and you have to do all of them, not just one of these. But you also have to do what you fits into your lifestyle and your pocketbook. So the salt rites are very powerful, and if you're having problems, you can repeat these frequently, daily if necessary, and it won't cost you too much. But when you can, you need to start getting your energy cells, your radionic machines, and other things to help protect yourself from this. This is like anything else. This is like buying vitamins, eating good food, taking care of yourself emotionally and spiritually. This is all part of it, and we have tools now that do that. Isn't that wonderful? And it's a minor investment for a lifetime of use and payoff. The other important area is taking antiparasitical herbal tinctures, which are available particularly in the United States everywhere. So you can get these on any health food store, and you can get them obviously online, eBay, etc. So you get an anti-parasite tincture kit. And this is something that you should take frequently. Now, you don't OD on these things. There are powerful, like black walnut tinctures, very powerful. If you use too much of it, it can hurt you. Herbs are powerful. You don't guzzle them down thinking more is better. This is a typical American thinking, which can get you into serious trouble. So antiparasitical food supplements, such as these tinctures, used properly, are a fantastic help. I've gotten many positive feedback from people that start taking antiparasitics. And this includes using kind of virals, things like echinacea, which has been a long time healer of different viruses, etc., has been shown to have great effect. Is very important, and probably you are not getting enough potassium. You need to have, believe it or not, you need to have like 2,400 milligrams of potassium a day, and I don't think anybody's getting that. So you need to be taking these things. This will bring up your energy and give proper energy to your thinking and clarify your thinking. If you are depressed, if you're tired, if you have chronic fatigue, these thoughts get worse and more dangerous. Unfortunately, there is no quick fix for everything. Does society have any fixes for anything? Well, not really. So it's not like this particular area of study is less powerful than any other. Generally, it's more powerful. When it works effectively and safely. This can't be said from pharmaceuticals, which tend to be dangerous, even though they have their place. Certain drugs are great, and you need to use them. If you can't breathe as an asthmatic, well, that inhaler is going to save your life. Is it the answer? No. And not even the drug companies say that. This is for the treatment of the symptoms of asthma. But it's not the solution. So you have to seek these things. And this is all part of the path that everyone has to go on. You have to have some personal responsibility. By understanding the world is a fraudulent, evil pile of poo, you then start changing the way you perceive the planet. And when you start doing that, you start to evolve as a human. So there is a double-edged sword to everything. And it may be the fact that the type of problems we're going through as a people right now are here to show people the correct way. But suffering doesn't do that. Suffering makes people more perverted and more distorted in their views. Finding the path is always very difficult. Of course, those listening to my voice are very fortunate that you've been led here because we have solutions to so many problems, or at least we're on the path. And supporting people who are doing something is critical because we support people that don't do anything, like the Red Cross, your churches, government, total failure, and we keep throwing good money after bad on people that do nothing but exploit and are fraudulent criminals. So nothing will ever change if you do that. You have to follow people and try things and be aware. You are a channel. You need to bring into that channel what works best for you and attune yourself to a higher level. Now, this is all very difficult to do and hard to describe how to do it, but we offer plans for everything. We have a Gnostic course. We have radionic courses. We have many books that give you practical techniques to empower your life in the most easiest, simplest ways. Some by just inserting your photograph into one of our talismanic books so you can bring that energy into you. You will not survive, you will not prosper until you start using higher energies to empower yourself. Many people are horribly plagued, and of course they're not willing to discuss because this makes you a schizophrenic, a potentially dangerous person of what's going on with them. Unfortunately, unless it's an extremely severe case, all these anti-schizophrenic drugs make you into a zombie, so you want to use them only as a last resort. There are other things you can do. These medications tend to neutralize you, make you into a nothing and a zero, and this just creates a horrible state of existence, even though it tones you down from psychotic episodes that may come from schizophrenia and telling you to do very negative things. So these are the steps you can take. These have shown to be very effective. I believe personally, and I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a researcher I'm a subtle energy physicist. I believe that these energetic toxic fields that enter you and then develop into parasites and other things are the cause of everything. Parasites, viruses, and funguses seem to be the cause of everything. And not only everything physical, not only cancer and all the other horrible physical diseases, but they are plaguing people's brains. And I don't see how you can possibly be sick with cancer and be thinking properly. It's amazing we can function in such a depressed state of near death and be able to think at all properly. So this is another thing nobody takes into consideration. But these are the type of things to look at. We are looking at these things in greater aspects to try and come up with some solutions. We expect to have radionic type rates that can clear the energetic negative fields out of you, and this should help by overcoming the parasites and others and taking the energy that they live on away, and hopefully they will then die and disappear. But informational energetic control fields is what controls all matter. And if you control the field of matter that creates physical matter, then you pretty much have control of the entire physical reality. Shocking, fascinating, wonderful. This is a reality, and it's a reality that is being used daily by a few select people to make massive changes on the planet and with individuals. So this is all on the horizon for particularly for those that follow this organization and help my research. Remember, you should be joining this channel, liking this particular audio, and make sure that you support us as you can on Patreon. Go up to the right corner of your YouTube page and you'll see a little logo there for Patreon. Do join us, even if you can only afford $5 or $6 a month. Everything helps. If we could have thousands of people only giving $5, let's say 1,000 people, that would be $5,000 a month going to research. That gets a lot done. It's freedom of time that I need. I don't need to buy expensive tools. I have all those. So this is what has to happen, and we have to support people that are on the same track. There's all sorts of good things happening, but they cannot come out and be public because they will be destroyed. Plain and simple. That's the kind of evil environment we're working in. So if our environment is so evil and so controlled, well, that's because those evil energies are within people, and this is what's plaguing them. Once this is isolated in the individual and then can be taken and isolated in society, well, there may be a chance of massive change by doing that. But it also is not going to be done by one individual that isn't supported properly. It's going to take a small, effective group and very high technological technologies which are here now and just need to be refined to make these changes so that you as an individual can be allowed to go to the next level of human existence and have the opportunity and freedom to do that without being plagued by the evil scum on this earth that want to destroy anything that's good. So hopefully this has been very informative. If you are having these kind of problems, listen to this a few times, the practical things you have to do. You're welcome to contact me, but I've made this particular video up so that it actually informs people of what to do with this particular problem. This is what we know now. And we will be coming out with certain tools to deal with this. Rate cards, informational energetic fields put into a number sequences that you can then draw energy from. This is classic radionics. So we're working on all those, and it does look good, and we have helped a lot of people with this. But remember, the parasite connection seems to be a strong one, and all the people I've worked with that have these kind of problems are loaded with parasites. So we need to start right there to begin with. And this may be a great way to get very quick relief to a certain level, even though taking herbals does not eliminate it, but it does get to a point where it brings it down to it's livable, and then we can work past that. But, these are energetic problems. They are not physical problems. Change the energetics of the planet, the individual, and the physical will then balance itself. So you don't heal the body. The body heals itself. You just help it. When you take a supplement, you're not healing the body, or even a medication. You're helping the body work better to heal itself. So people don't understand that either. So all of this is exciting, all of this is good, and we continue to move ahead with this groundbreaking research, and we've helped many people. And if you're having these problems, certainly do what I have suggested here, and you will find great relief. And like everything, go slow. If you have medical problems, make sure you talk with a physician of what your situation is as best as you can. So with that, until next time.